Buenos dias! Are you ready to inject some excitement into your classroom? Well, you've come to the right place. Today I'm excited to share with you the top 5 comprehension-based activities that will completely transform your language lessons. If you've never done comprehension-based teaching in your language classroom, you're in for a fun time. My name is Scott, and you're watching Immediate Immersion, where we're all about comprehension-based instruction in the modern language classroom. We'll be right back. First up, let's dive into the world of total physical response, or TPR. Say goodbye to those dull and lifeless textbooks and say hello to action-packed learning. With TPR, we'll incorporate gestures, movement, and tons of fun into your lessons. Just imagine the invigorating energy that will fill your classroom as you witness your students fully engaged and actively participating in their language learning journey. TPR creates a dynamic and interactive learning environment where language comes alive. Instead of relying solely on words and translations, we can encourage our students to use their bodies to respond to commands and instructions in the target language. They'll feel the language in their bones and remember it like never before. Muscle memory. It's a remarkable way to enhance comprehension and retention. In all of my levels, I focus on the Sweet 16 verbs, teaching the gesture that goes with each of the verbs. I then can use these verbs in funny sentences to get my kids up and moving and doing things in the target language. I always expose my students to whatever tenses are appropriate for what I'm trying to communicate, but I do focus on the past and present for my level 1s and 2s and add future and conditional for my level 3s. Both the IB and the AP exams focus on present, past, and future and expect your students to have control over these 3 tenses, and that's why I focus so heavily on them over the rest. As the year progresses, I'll add in other words that may be helpful to students, like prepositions and other important verbs. Whether you're teaching verbs, prepositions, or even sentence structures, TPR provides a multisensory approach that caters to various learning styles. Plus, it's a whole lot of fun for both the students and us teachers. Now let's shift gears and explore how we can spark meaningful conversations in our language classrooms. As language teachers, we know that fluency isn't just about knowing grammar rules and vocabulary. It's about communication and authentic interaction. By creating a safe and empowering environment where our students feel confident expressing themselves, we can witness the magic of real-life communication unfold. We can encourage our students to engage in discussions about just about anything. It could be school happenings, current events, new clothing or a haircut, sporting events, music, or anything else students like to talk about. I generally have at least 1 conversation day per week, and next year I plan on increasing this to a minimum of 2 because I think having real conversations with my students is so important. Conversations allow them to practice the language in a meaningful way, building both their fluency and their confidence, while at the same time building real, meaningful relationships with your students to build strong connections. So for all of this magic to happen, we need to create safe spaces where students feel comfortable and have the confidence to speak in a second language. Speaking of meaningful engagement, interactive storytelling is next on the list. It's an absolute game changer. Instead of just reading stories to our students, we can involve them actively in the storytelling process. This not only captivates their imaginations, but also enhances their language skills effortlessly. Students often forget that they're communicating in another language. I like to start with creating a character, and often will spend an entire class period just making this character as real as possible. I prefer to use inanimate objects as characters because this typically avoids stereotypes, but whatever your students want is best. We then take the time to describe the character, its family and friends, where it lives, what it likes to eat, what music it listens to, anything and everything to make kids want to talk about it. On the second day, we put the character into action. We give it a problem and have it go through its world trying to solve that problem. During both the character and the plot phases, we ask our students open-ended questions, encouraging them to contribute to the narrative, make predictions, and even create alternative endings. That's where the magic happens. It becomes their story. They own it, and they'll be engaged enough to pay attention long enough to acquire language. And by actively participating in the story, they acquire new vocabulary, develop their grammar skills, and expand their understanding of the language in a creative, enjoyable, and interactive way. Reading is another fantastic way to unlock language fluency. However, it's crucial to select engaging texts that cater to our students' proficiency levels. By carefully curating reading materials that captivate their interest and challenge their skills, we can supercharge our reading activities and ignite a passion for reading in our students. This passion is what leads to increased fluency as students want to read more and more. Reading not only expands their knowledge, but also enhances their comprehension skills. They'll dive into captivating stories, explore new worlds, and develop a deeper understanding of the language. We can encourage our students to be better readers by providing more opportunities to read stories and texts that they understand. I like to offer my students time for silent reading at least twice a week for 5 to 7 minutes. We also read an extended reading of 300 to 500 words, focusing on the vocabulary and structures we're working on at least every other week. I also like to read children's books to my students at least once a month. And finally, we read at least 2 novels per year together as a class. All of these opportunities for our students to read go a long way towards building their vocabulary, grammar, and sentence structure knowledge. Last, but certainly not least, let's harness the magic of music in language learning. Incorporating catchy songs and rhythms into our lessons can truly boost language acquisition and engagement. Music has a unique way of connecting with our emotions and enhancing memory retention, making it an incredible tool for language teachers. By singing and dancing in the target language, we create a deep connection with the culture, its traditions, and its people. I like to include popular modern songs along with traditional music and music designed to teach the language as well. I choose a new song every other week and introduce it with a close activity or just careful listening. I'll then translate the meaning of the song and highlight any key phrases or vocabulary. We then sing and dance to the song for the next 2 weeks. I find that my students are always a bit shy the first week of the song, but if they like a song the second week, they're all into it. I also often hold song competitions where I divide the class into 2 and they compete on who can sing the song the loudest. They always love this activity. Now, we can foster a sense of joy and enthusiasm for learning as our students not only acquire new vocabulary and pronunciation skills, but also develop a profound appreciation for the beauty and richness of the language they're studying. So those are my 5 go-to activities when I'm building a comprehension-based language lesson. By consistently and faithfully using these activities, I find that I don't have to teach long vocabulary lists or grammar rules, and my students' fluency increases week by week. And it's just the icing on the cake that my students actually enjoy learning a second language rather than focusing on verb conjugations and grammar drills. Are you ready to embrace these comprehension-based activities and take your language classroom to new heights? If so, type "I'm ready" in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and share it with your fellow language teachers. Together, we can transform the way we teach languages and inspire a new generation of language learners. Until next time, happy comprehensible input.